Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The show is about to begin.
Konnichiwa, and welcome to another episode of Photo Chats with Nats. My name is Nathalie, and I'm a professional photographer based in Johannesburg, South Africa. And I was helping out another wedding photographer once, and that was because he was sick on the day of the wedding, so he phoned me the day before. The next day, on the day of the wedding, I shoot out to the venue, and I realize he gave me the wrong venue address. Luckily, I was early, so everything was good. But that was a little bit of pressure. I definitely felt that, just like this evening, because there was a serious bug in a whole lot of things, and a lot of things did not go the way as planned and as was prepared. And so my pulse is a little bit faster now, but I'm sure everything will be just fine. Like we always say, live is live, anything can happen. So if something is a bit wonky this evening, forgive me, it's just a live stream. Today, I want to talk to you about using one camera and one lens only. And first, I will talk to you a little bit about what I mean exactly by that. Then we will look at, creativity and gas and all that kind of jazz. And then I will give you my challenges. And of course, we will be looking at the next show. Let's jump right in. In today's world, I feel we are so exposed to so many technical advances and so much gear that's around that this is really distracting from what it is that we're actually trying to do, which is create pictures. So I want to take a minimalist approach, and I want us to focus on one camera and one lens to really unleash your creativity. Because it really is focusing on creativity when we take a step back and we use one camera and one lens only and really focus on what we can do with exactly that. It's limiting yourself, but in the most possible positive way that could be. Because it doesn't make it harder, it actually makes it easier if you only have one camera and one lens. I don't know if you've maybe tried something like this before, or if you're new to photography and you only have one camera. But it really helps if all that noise and clutter can leave our head and we can just simply focus on the gear that we have in our hands. So with that said, the best camera that you have is really the one that is yours. There are a lot of sayings like this, and there are a number of people who quote this. And what is meant by that is that there are so many cameras around, and it can really get you lost and confused and always wishing for that better camera that's out there. But really, cameras today, for even the last while, are so powerful that you can create great images no matter what you have with you. So the camera that you have on you is then really, good enough. And if you are new and you've just purchased a camera because that's the only camera that you could afford, maybe, or maybe it is the camera that you've been longing for all along, whatever the camera is, it is the best camera for you because it's the one you have and it will help you to create images. So there are different thoughts that I want to share with you, because when you create and you really get into using your camera to its fullest, then, you get to know it really well, and you can then just, be happy with what you have, and because you know what it does and what it creates. And with that, it will, take away from needing or wanting that other camera or maybe another lens. So what often happens is that you've been shooting for a while and then you think this lens isn't good enough anymore. Or you're a beginner and you're not quite sure what a good lens is, how many lenses you need, or even what a lens does and what another lens does in comparison. And you always think, oh, I need another lens. What I have is just entry level. It's not good enough. No wonder my images aren't coming out the way they should. Meanwhile, you don't have a hold of your gear just yet. And if you're in this place where you think your gear isn't good enough, then obviously you're going to long for another lens, a faster lens, a bigger lens, a more expensive lens. But very often this is not necessary. Or I want to say, especially when you're in the beginning phases of the discovering photography, it is not necessary. Or what you have is perfectly all right to do the job really well. And when I was starting out in photography, I wish I'd been told that just focus on your camera and the one lens that you have and really learn it really, really well. Know it back to front, know exactly what it does, know exactly what your lens does, and all the things that you can do with it and what you want to achieve or can achieve with that one lens. It is a very, very powerful way of discovering photography, because it really pushes you to create with that one lens everything and anything that you want. And you will learn your lenses and cameras' limitations and all the capabilities. So it's really extremely powerful. And I go so far as to say that creativity, when you unleash it like this, it is more powerful than new gear. If you know exactly what your lens does and all the things it can do, and you create ways in which you make images, all the images that you want, and you make them as best as possible with that one lens, you will not need and rely on another lens to do something similar. And that will always give you an advantage over someone who may have all the gear in the world, but has not gotten, tapped into that creativity the way you have. And having said that, you may at some point reach some kind of a plateau, a stagnation, a frustration, or a loss in interest. Maybe not right in the beginning, because you are so curious to learn photography that is a motivator in itself. But at some stage you may come to a point where you realize, maybe my camera is not good enough, because you think the images that you take aren't the way they should be. And instead of really digging deep as to, let me fix it with this camera, you think it's the camera's fault. So you look at newer cameras, other cameras, and we all know there are more than enough around to distract you. And, some people, they have the one camera, and instead of learning all about it and, going online and watching tutorials and having conversations with people about the gear they have, they look at other gear that they would really like, and maybe they know more about that camera and those functions rather than what they have in their hands, and not realizing that if they just spend the time and the energy on their gear that they have and go out with it, then they would be so much happier. So I'm warning against that. And in all of this, I keep on talking about gas, in case you don't know what I'm talking about. No, it's got nothing to do with your digestive system and a fault in that. But it's an acronym that is widely spread in the photography world because it describes always needing to buy more gear and thinking that, with another lens or another camera or some other accessories, your photography will improve. And you will have that if you are not happy with your photography because you don't spend the time behind the camera and the lens. So if you agree with me and if you are willing to take on this, approach and challenge, then I am challenging you. No matter where you are in your photography journey, but I have thought of a couple of ways that you can, go and embrace this philosophy and figure out for yourself whether you like it or not and play around with it a little bit. So if you are what I call a beginner, so you are new to photography, you maybe have just bought your first real camera, or you haven't used it in a while, or you have upgraded from a point and shoot to a mirrorless camera, or something to that sort. Something dramatic has changed, improved in your gear, and you really want to dive in to photography, but you don't really have much experience. Then I'm challenging you to say, as I said earlier, that the gear that you have is perfectly all right to do this challenge and perfectly capable of doing everything you needed to do. So don't go out and buy more lenses because someone says, but this f2.8 or this professional or this faster or whatever, it's really not necessary at this point. What you have is perfect. The only thing I am telling you is that you should stick to a lens that is a 35mm equivalent. And that is because that's basically the angle that your natural eye sees. So it is very familiar what your camera will capture with it. So it is a very easy transition and very satisfying focal length. So if you don't have a prime lens, which is a 35mm equivalent, I actually need to go back because I jumped ahead. So the 35mm equivalent, if you don't have a prime lens, which is only giving you 35mm, you may have a zoom lens. Usually those cameras come with kit lenses and they're often zoom lenses just to give you a bigger variety. But what I really want you to do is to just shoot on one focal length. So if it's not a prime that you have, then your zoom lens, I want you to dial it to 35mm equivalent, and I actually want you to put tape on it. I don't want you to touch that. I want you to really understand and feel and know what it is like to shoot on 35mm, to really get that idea, how far away is something, where must I stand to get this in the frame, and to really get, eat, breathe, and sleep 35mm, and understand what that then does to your pictures and in your camera, and how that all translates. It will be a very powerful exercise. If you work with a zoom lens, so many more settings come into play that when you're at the beginning, it's really confusing and it makes your learning curve a much longer and slower one. So tape it up and stick to this one focal length. And now you can zoom with your feet. What we mean by that is that instead of, turning the lens barrel, you'll actually now always see the one focal length. And if you want to go closer, you walk there. If you want to go further away, you will go actually physically further away. And that will be, again, a very powerful exercise, and it will even save your gym contract because it will make you walk around a bit more, and it will make you explore different angles, much more so than if you were shooting with a zoom lens. And go and shoot absolutely everything and anything. Experiment with day and night, indoors, outdoors, people, animals, nature. Just, really shoot as varied as possible so that you get a lot of good experience and you can really see what different types of images your camera can take. If you've been shooting for a while and you are more familiar with photography terms and you're more familiar with your gear, maybe you've upgraded to a newer camera, or you have just bought yourself a prime lens for the first time, and you have taken a substantial amount of photographs already, then this is kind of like where I think you fit in. And then I would like you to shoot with a prime lens. For the same reasons, like for a beginner, it really helps you to limit and take out all the noise that is, so often created by the industry, really. And again, 30 or 50 mil is what I'd recommend. Again, it is a very familiar focal length, and it is also extremely versatile. You will be able to shoot, everything and anything that, I want you to. And it will give you a really good idea as to what this one lens can do, and maybe where its limitations are, if there are any, how a minimum focus distance affects your images, and, how much you can actually photograph and how far away, the sharpness of it, etc., etc. So it will really help you to get to know this one particular lens very, very well. And then I want you to master hyperfocal distance. And I leave you to explore this and all the other terms in photography so that you can really dive in. And once you understand that concept, then you really have, you don't need to master my challenge, but you have really stepped forward and stepped up your photography game. I'm aware that there are also other people watching that may be working photographers or very advanced in many fields. You know what kind of images you get with different lenses, and you use different lenses because you need to create different kinds of imagery. Then I have this challenge for you, where I want you to pick a prime lens of your choice, whichever that is, that you like the most, or whatever the reason is that you pick that one. It is really kind of like not important which one it is, also what kind of camera you choose. The only real important thing is that you use one camera, that one particular one, and that one particular lens only. And then I want you to pick one more limiting factor so that you really crunch it down to push you even more to think how you can create certain types of images. Let's say in the middle of the day, go out at noontime every day and try and shoot a picture. Try and shoot portraits of people. At noontime, we all know, this is really difficult because it is crappy light, especially in the southern hemisphere. So you can choose whatever limiting factor you want, but choose something like this, and then go and, set yourself a project. Say, I'm going to, create a certain amount of images with all these factors, and I'll create a body of work with these images and then, present them somewhere, somehow. It is an unbelievably rewarding project, and it will teach you a lot about gear, about a certain lens, about other factors, and it will push your creativity to another level. And that is that. So this is how quickly we got through today's show. And tomorrow we are going to have a look at why I think you need to have fun in photography. And in addition to that, I wanted to invite you to read a blog post of mine that I wrote a while ago regarding me shooting with one camera and one lens, namely an X100 S and F, a long-term project, if you wish, where I dive in a little bit further in preparation of tomorrow, where, I found myself not having so much fun anymore in photography. And it kind of is a nice link between today and tomorrow. So I invite you to read it, and the link will be in the comments. I also invite you to subscribe to my channel and to share this link with friends, with other peers that are also into photography and would like to pick up a few more things, would like to get a platform where they can ask questions. So, I invite you to use this space and make this an opportunity to learn and grow with me. And then I will see you again tomorrow at 8 o'clock, as always, on this channel. And I can't wait to see you. Bye-bye now.